The green line represents what I call the power line. That's the line you want to move into. You want to end up with your whole body stacked on that power line at your finish. Let's see how he does. Let's watch the takeaway getting shifted the weight. Now what he's doing is he's collapsing a little bit here. Notice the butt isn't behind him anymore. You'd like to see that butt staying pretty much against that green line on the backswing. Now he's going to push off. See how he transfers his weight, but he doesn't get, see how his head's going first? He's leaning forward. The lower body hasn't driven underneath. The lower body isn't rotating through the shot, just the upper body. And he ends up with his head past the line. At this point, we like to see the hips pushed forward, the pelvis pushed forward to the green line, not just the head. Starting at the setup here, I'd like to see this golfer with his trail hand a little bit more on top of the club. This kind of a setup here creates the likelihood that you're going to scoop the shot rather than hit down on it. So we'll just take it back. Now notice on the backswing how the gloved hand, you can see the back of it very easily. You can see the fingers of the trail hand, nice. Gets a good rotation there. Now he's going to come down to the ball. Good weight shift, but right there you can see now his hand is underneath the golf club, his trail hand, and it's going to continue underneath, stays underneath throughout the entire swing, so he never gets to rotate the club back up again, and I don't ever get to see the fingers of the gloved hand, never. We need to be able to see those fingers early in the forward part of the swing. This golfer simply bent over too far and reaching for the ball. What we did later on in the session is we had her standing a little taller, a little closer to the ball. Did a better job of making impact at that point right there. Let's just go ahead and watch the takeaway. Notice because she's bent over, the club kind of comes straight up a little bit. And she kind of gets in a stuck looking position right there. It's because she can't really rotate around anything. And down to the ball and kind of slaps at it. Once we got her standing up, she started making really good contact. The ideal spine angle is about 30 degrees, or having the head point to about 1 o'clock. So we're going to take a look at that. We got her, there's her setup now. Whoops, went too far. Let's go back, get back to the setup position. We'll draw a line up, and then we'll try to make it to 30 degrees. So 30 degrees would be 160. That's where she should be. Somewhere between there and even more straight up and down. What I want you to look at here is right where I've drawn the circle. What you're going to see is the lead arm or left arm is going to move away from the body early on the backswing. Watch this as we go back. See how it's moving away from the body? So he's actually taking the club back too far to the inside and getting his hands out too far away, so he doesn't have a nice solid connection. He's very strong and he sets up with a very nice posture, but because he rotates that club, he's actually going to end up well over the top, see that, and offline at the swing. I think he's feeling like he's swinging too far back, but the reality he's just swinging too much to the outside. Watch the downswing. It's going to be a little bit forward, throwing the hands away again, away from the body. Pretty good position right there. Good solid impact, good rotation, right on through to the finish. Just work on keeping that lead arm tighter against the chest. We're going to look at a couple of things here. We're going to look at the action of the right leg at the start of the takeaway and at the after part, the finish. So watch what happens here as he starts to take the club back. He's got a little trigger mechanism right there that he kind of wooks that knee in a little bit, and he starts to swing back. Now swing back's pretty good. It's a little too far to the inside. When the club is here, it should be parallel and over the alignment rod that he has in place. So he's getting a little too far to the inside, in a pretty good position right there at the top. Nice flat left wrist. Now he's going to start down, moving the right knee in good. See, we're seeing a good movement there, but he doesn't finish. Moving into the lead side. He's a little bit stuck here, and notice that the heel doesn't come off the ground until, well after the finish. It stays on the ground even though the club is all the way around him. So we're going to get him to have a little more dynamic movement of the lower body and try to figure out what that little trigger is on his takeaway with the right knee. What you're going to see here is how quickly the club gets pointed away from her body. Instead of turning in one piece, she's going to take the club back quicker than she's rotating, so that the club goes way to the inside and she lifts a little bit. See how she's lifting right there? And then she wonders why she tops the ball sometimes. Everything else is pretty good now. She's almost standing straight up at this point. We need to keep that spine angle that she sets it at set up and maintain it throughout the entire swing. Now she tries to go back down and find it, but she's collapsing too much. Everything is collapsing down. And then she's popping right back out again, and she tops the ball. Right. Way too much up and down movement, especially on the backswing, which creates the necessity to dive down to get the ball on the forward swing. This golfer has a tendency to slice, and we can see the cause of that here at the setup. Notice that you can't really see the lead arm from this position here. That tells you that his shoulders are pointing pretty far out to the right. So the swing path is going to be across the ball, creating the slice. Let's watch this swing in slow motion from here. Takes it back nice and cuts across it, and off to the left the ball goes. You can see that pretty much as he comes into impact area, how the club is pulling across the ball, and that's what's going to create the slice. Makes good contact, solid contact. All we need to do is get his alignment a little bit better. Well, one of the things we tried to accomplish today with this swing was to get the hands rotating better after impact. So let's just start the club back a little bit. Now look right there. Notice that what we see is the back of the lead hand. When the club is in that same position on the forward part of the swing, we should see the back of the trail hand. So let's go ahead and go forward. Good backswing. Now watch what happens as we move into the shot a little bit. So we don't see the back of the lead. We see the back of the lead hand. The trail hand is under the club. So we need to get it more matched so that he can swing and rotate the club. So let's go ahead and watch the swing now in slow motion. Goes back nice, but you can see we don't rotate the club through at impact. Okay, we drew the power line in. Let's watch the takeaway. Stand up against the power line, pretty good. Not too much movement off of it. Good wrist hinge there. Look at him driving into the power line. Very nice. Very good move right there. Turning into it. It could be a little bit more forward momentum at this point here. A little more thrust of the pelvis towards the target line. See, the club is trying to pass the hands early. Great extension down the line there. Turn right on through the shot. See, it needs to be turning at this point more. It needs to have more body rotation, lower body rotation. So he never really quite gets all the way to the power line. So that's cost him a little bit of yardage, but pretty good swing actually. The problem this golfer has is generally in the backswing. What's going to happen is the right elbow is going to flare out behind him, and it's going to look like he actually tips over a little bit, so his weight doesn't really get transferred to the backside. Let's watch this. The takeaway, see right about in there. See how the right elbow's right behind him instead of down to the ground, and he's really transferred his weight mostly back to the front side. He's just kind of swayed back. And as he drives into the ball, he's going to flip the club a little bit. See that right there? The club head is passing the hands pretty drastically early in the swing, and his lower body isn't rotating through before the upper body. See how the upper body's way out in front of the swing. We've got to learn how to swing from the ground up on the way down. Here we see a good setup, good foundation, good spine angle. What he's swinging here is the heavy club, the power hitter, very heavily weighted iron. So we've got an orange back to it. And one thing we can see is that he's not letting the toe of the club rotate up. At this point now, the club should be pointing more towards the sky, the toe of the club, which would be a more natural rotation of the club. See, it's still really shut here. That also reduces the amount of speed you can generate in your downswing. Let's see what happens on the way down. See, now he does have it back. He finally got it open. He's coming into the shot, rotates through nicely. ends up in a pretty decent finish. Pretty good swing. I'd have him be a little bit more relaxed with the hands on the backswing. This golfer has a real tendency to slice, and again, that's pretty typical when you have your shoulders aimed so far to the right for a left-handed golfer that the club has to cut across the ball and produces the spin, which creates the slice. Let's go ahead and watch the takeaway here. Not bad takeaway. He's got the club nicely on plane, coming down to the ball nicely, but he's going to swing right across it. So he's coming too quickly to the inside, too abruptly to the inside. What we've done here is we've worked a little bit on his grip and got him making much better contact and then swinging easier so he doesn't get himself all out of balance. With this golfer, we're going to pay close attention to the left leg on the takeaway. The idea is we want to transfer our weight onto the trail side during our takeaway, but I don't want to lose my connection to the ground. So what we're going to see here is as he goes back, he very quickly raises that left foot up off the ground almost completely. That puts him out of position to really transfer and drive into the lead side. So he ends up slapping at the ball a little bit and doesn't get the power that he should have. Notice there's no weight transfer at all to the front side. As a matter of fact, he ends up falling onto the back leg. So we're going to get him to try to keep his front leg a little more planted so that he can drive onto it more aggressively in his downswing. Very nice. Nice.